Hey, welcome to the channel. My name is Chels, and if you are struggling to lose weight on a plant-based diet or really any diet and you don't know what to eat or how to get your habits on track to stay consistent, then this is the channel for you. In this video, I'm going to be showing you 3 high-protein, low-calorie, whole foods vegan meals that are great for weight loss, they are filling, and if you are trying to count macros or eat a slightly higher protein diet while also losing weight, then these are going to be ideal for you. And something I want to point out is that I'm not intentionally trying to eat a higher protein diet. I have done that in the past when I've been counting macros and it was torture. It is actually really hard to eat a higher protein diet and stay in a calorie deficit. So stay in a lower calorie amount while still feeling full, because higher protein foods do tend to be higher in calories. So if you stick around to the end of the video, I'm going to be talking a little bit about protein needs, and if you're trying to build muscle on a protein diet, dispelling a few little tiny myths around trying to hit a certain protein target while you're losing weight and what you should be aware of. But for now, let's get into cooking. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to roast up an entire buttercup squash, kabocha squash, whatever you want to call this thing. You could also use buttercup, a butternut if you have that. I really like this because it is really low in calories, but it's also quite filling. And because we're going to be using higher calorie elements, like slightly higher than what I'd normally use, things like edamame and chickpeas as the base of our meals to get that higher protein, I'm going to want something that kind of like fills me up, that's not going to add a lot of calories, because you're going to be automatically eating less of those higher calorie elements like legumes because they are just slightly higher in calorie density. So this is going to help with some of that. So I'm going to use that buttercup in a couple of different recipes, so it's a great idea to cook that up first. What I'm going to be making now is a pulse pasta. So pulse pastas are pastas that are made from some kind of pulse, like chickpeas, lentils, green peas, and what I'm going to be using is this red lentil pasta. So what this does is, because it is made from red lentils, means it's going to be higher in protein, because lentils are higher in protein than wheat, which pasta is normally made from. So because it is made from lentils rather than wheat, it's also slightly higher in calories. So I'm going to make this entire box up, and I'm going to have that serve 3 people. And what's going to be ideal is that I'm going to make that go over 3 days. So that could be 3 lunches that are at that kind of higher protein level. And so I'm going to be making up enough for that. Let's do it. Okay, so I have my veggies chopped up. My pasta is cooking over here. And I'm going to start cooking my veg. This is always the hard part. Probably shouldn't even attempt this, to be honest. But here we go. Oh, skills. Woohoo! Huge thing of veg there. So I'm dry sauteing this, and saute whatever. People always get annoyed. I'm dry sauteing this, and I don't mind if it gets like a little bit of crispiness. I've got a non-stick pan in here, so I'm just making sure I'm moving it around. I'm gonna add about 15 small green olives. So it's about a small handful of green olives. And I'm gonna just break them up so that it gets all throughout this meal, because I want it to be super flavorful. And this is what's gonna give me some flavor in there. If you don't like using your hands, you can always cut them up. Also going to add a few capers. Okay, so this is looking good. I like it a little bit crunchy, and it's got quite a bit of flavor in there already from like the capers and things like that. I drained out my pasta, so that's all cooked. I'm going to add that in there now. Give it a bit of a mix. So I'm just going to now season this with salt and pepper until it's kind of at my liking, and I'll put a little bit of chili in there as well. Okay, so I've got my 3 like portioned containers now, and it's an okay amount of food. It's not a ton in my opinion. So what I'm going to do is every day that I eat one of these, I'm going to be adding some stuff to it. So I'm going to show you what I do that, and that's going to mean that even though this is going to last me for 3 lunches, what I'm going to add to it is still going to feel really fresh. It's not going to feel like a freezer meal or anything like that. So let's take this one here and actually plate it up how I would eat it every single day. Okay, so this epic bowl of goodness comes out at 490 calories and 31 grams of protein, which I have to say I'm pretty impressed with. It's not easy to achieve this. This is going to be a pretty filling meal. I'm going to give it a taste test. Might need a little bit more salt and pepper. Really good. And you could even put a little bit of hummus on this. You could do anything. You could do this with potatoes rather than chickpeas, rather than chickpea pasta or regular pasta or brown rice pasta, whatever you want, really. It's really good, guys. 2 thumbs up. Okay, it's the next day because I ran out of light yet again. Thank you, New Zealand winters. And anyway, I'm not sad about it because I'm super starving right now. This is perfect timing to make my second meal, which is a really, really easy component bowl with chickpeas, tahini, broccoli, buttercup pumpkin that we cooked up yesterday. And I am excited. So let's get into making this. So while that broccoli is cooking up, I'm going to start making my component pot. Okay, as you can see, this is an epically gorgeous bowl of food. Flippin' heck, look at that. This ended up being so much more food than I thought it would be. And realistically, I would probably have normally like half a tin of chickpeas. I wouldn't need to eat like a full tin. This meal ends up being about 580 calories, which I still think is a great range to be in for a weight loss meal. A weight loss meal should be between 500 and 600 calories. It comes out at 33 grams of protein, which is pretty high, especially considering the fact like I didn't use any tofu or anything in here. You're getting a lot of protein from things like the chickpeas and then the broccoli. Even the sprouts have about like 1 to 2 grams of protein. and a little bit from the tahini in there as well. So I'm probably not gonna be able to finish this. I'm gonna probably save some of it, but let's give it a bit of a taste test. Ooh la la. One for you, one for me. So many flavors going on here. What I'm gonna say about this is, not only is this a higher protein meal, it's really hitting all of like the key nutritional targets. Like there's so much vitamin C in here, there's vitamin A, there is a lot of calcium in this meal as well. I just had a look at the iron, and this is, in this meal, 79% of your iron intake is covered for the day in this one meal. And this is one of the things that I wanted to just talk about, is that when one of the benefits of probably like trying to hit like a slightly higher protein intake is that you're going to be upping your iron intake. So if you want to, when you're using whole food, so if you're wanting to be getting more iron, you need to be on a higher iron diet to bring that up. Maybe you're pregnant, or you just know that you're low in iron, then eating meals like this is going to be really, really good for you. Like, look at the rainbow in this. This is such a healthy meal. And yeah, it's like nearly 600 calories. I know some people are going to be freaking out about this, but you're going to struggle to even finish this. The knock-on effect from eating a meal this huge is going to be that you are not going to be hungry for hours and hours and hours, which is only going to be helpful when you're trying to lose weight and you're trying to get consistent in your diet. So don't freak out that it is 580 calories. Absolutely perfect meal. I'm going to enjoy this a little bit. Okay, for our next meal, we're going to make a really, really easy high protein veggie stir fry. And this is going to serve 2 people, so it's going to be great for meal prep with those other meals that I've made. And then I'm basically going to be set for the rest of the week. So let's get into making that. Baby peas, 500 grams, about a pound. Got some tofu here. I'm going to use about a third of this, which is 200 grams. Some shelled edamame. I'm going to use about 1.5 cups. And some green peas. I'm going to use 2 cups. Let's give it a little stir. Woo! A little bit of veggie stock on. Just do that to taste. Some white pepper. And some curry powder. Probably like a tablespoon. Not quite a lot in there. Check out this trick. Genius! Okay, so that's cooking away nicely. And I don't use any water in this because I want it to get somewhat crunchy. I don't want it to be soggy. And I like to keep big bits of tofu because it tastes yum. Okay, for this you want to keep your lid on while you're cooking it because you want the edamame to kind of steam, and make sure that you're using pre-cooked edamame, or at least mostly cooked edamame. Okay, so both of these meals here, as is, are 490 calories each. Quite a bit of food here, really, really filling, and 33 grams of protein. So that is a lot of protein in that, tons of iron, still really, really healthy. I used to eat meals like this all the time when I was counting macros to get that really, really high protein amount. What I would do if I was going to eat this at a lunch is I would definitely add some greens in there, and I'd probably put a dollop of hummus as well, and that would only take it up by about 50 calories. It would give me a little bit more protein, but it would also be more enjoyable, so that's what I would do. So now I've got 4 meals that I've got for the rest of the week. I'm stoked. So let's have a little chat about protein on a plant-based diet. There's this huge misconception that you need a higher percentage of protein in your diet and a lower percentage of carbs if you want to lose weight. That is simply not true. If you want to lose weight, you must be in a calorie deficit. That is the most important factor of the equation. The amount of protein that you need per day, or that is recommended, is about 0.8 grams per kilo of lean body weight. So when you think lean body weight, that's like your ideal body weight. So for me, that's only about 50 grams of protein a day. So the meals that I've shown you, if you were to eat similar meals 3 times a day, you're going to be getting about 90 grams of protein a day, which is overkill. But some people are going to recommend that you get about 120 grams of protein a day when you're trying to lose weight or while building muscle. And there is a reason for this. One of the things that happens when you're in a calorie deficit is that your body starts pulling stored fuel from multiple places. Most of it comes from your fat, but some of that stored fuel is going to come from the protein in your muscles. So part of the reason that people will recommend a higher protein diet while you're trying to lose weight and build muscle, or at least maintain it at the same time, is so that you offset some of that is going to be burnt while you're in a calorie deficit. But here's the thing, when you look at the huge meta-analysis of all of these different studies that compare different protein amounts, you can only pull out a really, really small advantage to having a higher protein diet. And the best thing that you can do to preserve muscle while losing weight is to exercise, is to move. It is to be building your muscles through progressive overload, which is just pounding them through exercise and weight training. This is the problem as I see it. From a muscle preservation standpoint, there doesn't seem to be a huge advantage to trying to get more protein than the recommended amount. But the third thing, and I think that this is most important when you think about what are your your macro splits when it comes to weight loss, is what is easy to do that is going to get you into a calorie deficit. Because you've got 2 factors at play here. You've got preserve muscle mass, and then you've got get into a calorie deficit. If you want to lose weight, you must be in a calorie deficit. But here's where it gets really difficult. If you are trying to increase the amount of protein that you're eating, and you are there, and then also decreasing the amount of carbohydrates that you're eating, which you have to, there's a balancing act here. All right, it's like a puzzle. You've got to fit all of these macronutrients into your day. Then what happens is that it gets harder and harder for you to actually get into a calorie deficit, and you're going to be eating less and less because those high protein foods are also higher in calories. So as the amount of protein that you're trying to eat in the day goes up from things like tofu, edamame, peas, lentils, all of that kind of stuff, and you're decreasing the amount of carbohydrates that you're eating to do that, then the amount of calories that you're eating is going up and up and up as this one is going up. And I've done this. I've experienced this firsthand. When I was eating 80 grams or 90 grams of protein a day and limiting my carbohydrates to get that, I was hungry. I was really hungry because I couldn't eat a large volume of food, and I couldn't eat filling foods like potatoes. The meals that I've shown you are great, but they are not as filling as if you were to add things like sweet potato and whole grains into there. I would half the amount of chickpeas that I was using, for example, and put a whole potato in there and be absolutely fine with that. But then you're not hitting those high protein numbers, and you would be eating too many carbs. When you are on a weight loss journey, no matter what the ideal situation might be, you have to think about what is actually doable, because the best hypothetical plan where you're preserving every ounce of muscle and you're also in a calorie deficit and you also never binge might not be possible. You have to pick your battles, and when it comes to losing weight, if that is your primary goal, then focus on getting into a calorie deficit. I never worry about how much protein I'm getting. Just from eating a bowl of sweet potatoes with broccoli, I'm getting about 20 grams of protein in a meal. I said I only need 50 a day, so that's absolutely fine as one of 3 meals. If you want to do a really deep dive into protein and vegan weight loss, then check out the podcast episode that I did all about this topic, and why I don't think that you should be worried about it at all, and I think you should be focusing on eating low calorie dense vegetables, lots of carbohydrates, and building muscle. I haven't been going to the gym recently, so there's not that much there, but building muscle with progressive overload instead. That's it from me. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you'd like to, please consider subscribing. I'd love to hear in the comments, what do you think? Do you try and eat a higher protein diet? Do you not worry about it? Let me know. I will see you next week for another video.